Mm. Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi fi kulli lahadatin abada ala ni'amillahi wa afdalihi. اللهم آتنا من لدنك رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نوينا التعلم والتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والاندفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف نناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهد قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرات الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آه، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على فرش بطائنها من استبرق وجنى الجنتين دان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ومن دونهما جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مدهامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة ونخل مان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن خيرات حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مقصورات في الخيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على رفرف خضر وعبر متكئين على رفرف خضر وعبقري حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان تبارك اسم ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام صدق الله العلي العظيم وقد بلغ النبي الوافي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والذاكرين والمؤمنين ويكن لنا حجة يوم القيامة وليس علينا. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken the truth. And indeed, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who has fulfilled the trust that was placed on him, has indeed fulfilled the message. And we are of those who are witnesses, and we are grateful, and we are of those who remember, and inshallah of those who are believers in the message brought by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. It is always a blessing, right, to come over and over again back to the Quran, to just bask and enjoy the words of the Quran, especially when we come to the verses of the Quran that speak about when we come to the verses of the Quran, right, that speak about paradise, and what to expect in paradise. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So here, mashallah, coming into these verses, we are on verse number 54, I correct exam. Okay, 54. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Right, so we're on the verses of Jannah, Alhamdulillah. Right, and the surah ends with the verses of Jannah. Right, so all the way we are expecting, and we will be delighting in the description of Jannah. And the Quran does that. The Quran does that often. MashaAllah. Right, there is description of Jahannam. Right, you will find description of Jannah, inshallah. And it is just to increase the desire of human beings, and as a driving force for human beings to strive harder, to strive better, right, to get themselves into Jannah, inshallah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a hadith about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, Inna sil'atullahi, inna sil'atullahi hiya, inna sil'atullahi غالية إن سلعة الله هي الجنة, right? Which means that indeed the price of the prize and the prize, Allah's prize is expensive, and Allah's prize is Jannah. Right? So when you read the verse of Jannah and you see all these delights of Jannah, right? And then you look at your deeds, right? And you see, are you really showing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you want this? Right? It is the way the hadith goes, mashallah, the price of Allah is expensive. The price of Allah is Jannah. Mashallah. Right? It is expensive. It is expensive. The price of Allah. And what is the price? And what is the price for this price of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The price you have to pay is your life, right? You give your entire life and your wealth and yourself and everything about you. You give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You serve in the name of the religion. All that you do is for the da'wah, to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you direct yourself in this way, in all that you do, in your work, in your interactions, in your family, in everyday life. And as our Prophet ﷺ so beautifully demonstrated this to us in the everyday life of a Muslim, right? There is a direction to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is what is the price of Jannah, right? That is the price of Jannah. Your entire life not only revolves around Jannah, your entire lives, they are headed towards Jannah. That's what we're looking at. And so these verses, mashallah, they're very beautiful verses. But then again, as much as we can go through these verses, whatever we get from these verses is nothing that what we will experience in Jannah, right? It's nothing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is simply using terms and words that we can comprehend as human beings. Right? So what you can see them as is that they're like parables. Right? It's something that our mind can grasp. right? Of delights. Right? So as human beings, what do we know of delights in this world? Right? Of delights in this world, we know food, right? And that's obvious. Right? Human beings, like you look online and you see the amount of food, right, available online, and not just the amount of food available online, amount of videos of people eating. I don't know why we watched it. Right? It's some sort of satisfaction in watching people eating. Right? And videos of cooking and videos of all kinds of things. Human beings delight, and we do delight in food. We have this attraction towards food. There's delight in food. That even in the da'wah, there is a hikmah, there is a wisdom in serving food. Right? Because people come to food. Right? And that was what Rasulullah did himself. Right? When he first began the da'wah, he actually threw a feast. He actually had a feast. And he invited all of his family members. That is a way of da'wah, by food. Right? You call people by food, right? So his family members came down, right? Because he had a feast, had a meal, right? To give to them, right? And then at the meal, he had prepared, or planned, right, to declare his prophethood and to call his family members to Islam. This was after the first 3 years of secrecy in da'wah. He was commanded, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to call people to Islam in the open. So he had several methods as to how he did this. Right? And mashallah, his methods were very, very, up till today, we employ those methods because he's the best da'i, he's the best of those who call to Islam. Right? And so when he called his family to the feast and they were all eating and they were all happy, right, at the feast eating, before he could speak, right, his wretched uncle Abu Lahab, right, got up, right, and shouted at the top of his voice, right, go away, people, disperse, you have eaten, go home, right, and he prevented the Prophet ﷺ from speaking. Right, but even then, Rasul didn't hold anything against his husband, against his uncle at one. Right, but he tried again and again, right, to call his family to Islam. Right, but every single time he tried to call his family to Islam, his uncle will come in the way. Right, which is why eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah Masad, right, to curse the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And but this is the one thing about food, about feasting. Right, people because and this is basically a prelude, right, to understand these verses of the Quran, that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them to us, right, and we understand them, right, we do understand them and we know that whatever Allah is saying is correct, right, it is correct, right, but what Allah is describing, we have no idea. Right, right, so we can relate something of our delight in this word, right, to what is being described here, right? But of course, you multiply a billion times. Say, for example, right? The pleasure is multiplied in infinite times or a billion times as to what the pleasure will be in Jannah. Right. So when it comes to the food that is mentioned here in these passages, and also we keep in mind that this was revealed to a society of Bedouins. Right. So the address here will be specifically to the Arab culture, the Arab society, right? So for us that we can extrapolate, right, from that, and we can place it in our society as well, like what we understand to be comfort and we understand to be delights, right? So like whenever I describe for the children, right, in Jannah, right, you must always mention the water slide. Right? It seems to be something that is they must know all about. There has to be a water slide there in Jannah. Right? So the rivers not boring. They're not interested in rivers. Okay, so say river water slide. It's a water slide. It's a water slide. Right? And then people in the Arab culture, milk is good enough. Oh no, they want chocolate milk. Right. So our culture lain sikit. Right. So the so if you want chocolate milk, can lah. Ask Allah lah. We'll give you a chocolate milk. Right. Right. So in a sense, like there is a change lah in our culture because like here they describe fruits and everything, and our kids are like, what? Fruit in Jannah, fruit ni. Right, so we have to like get their what they like lah, chocolate, whatever they want pizza, burger. That's our culture. Our culture is like that. Our culture, you come to a buffet table, you see fruit and you see cheesecake, you go for the cheesecake. And the fruit is like, and one will touch the fruit. But in that culture, fruit was a delight. Fruit is their, fruit is their you would say their luxurious food, right? That is food. As fruits. Right. So when we go through these verses, right, we have to keep in mind that they are being revealed first and foremost to the culture of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I wanted a question from someone when I in NUS. This person, I don't know where she was getting it because the way they ask the questions, like wonder, are they are they thinking? Right, sometimes like Allahu Alam, the questions. But and the way she was saying was in a very smart or very like arrogant way, right? Whereby she was saying, the Quran keeps addressing the people in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It keeps addressing people in time of in pre, in you say in the ancient Arabs, and they are ancient. Right, they are ancient. 1,400 years ago is quite ancient, right? So, in the ancient Arabs, is before the modern era. So the Quran keeps addressing them, right? And how can it be a universal book if it keeps addressing them and not addressing us? That was the question now, right? And actually, it is a good question, but just the way that she posed it was very very arrogant, right? In a way that like challenging the Quran in a way it was very like very arrogant. Right, so why the Quran why the Quran just talk about the Arabs? Why can't talk about us? That kind of thing. First and foremost, right? There are all kinds of cultures in the world. If the Quran were to speak about every single culture, right, in the world, not just across time, across countries. And you have a very big book. It is completely, like you would say, inefficient. A completely inefficient book if you were to speak about this, if you were to implement the same principles onto and spell it out for every single zaman, every single era, and every single culture, every single land, right? You will say that book is a lousy book, right? It's so it's so repetitive, right? And we understand the principle, right? So basically, it has to focus on one culture as an example, right? And then you can pull out the principles right from there, of course, and that will be eloquence. There's a form of eloquency, and there's a form of that you say balagha, right? A form of beauty, right, in the Arabic language. That's first and foremost. Right. Secondly, right, so the Quran will have to focus on one culture. And obviously the culture that it descends upon. Right, because if the Quran were to speak about some Chinese culture in the 21st century, right, the Arabs would be like, what? What's going on? Right, so I mean, the Arabs would have no clue what the Quran is talking about. Right? And then that doesn't make sense at all whatsoever. Right? So the Quran has done this, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done this, right, to a specific culture in that time, and Allah knows that it is the best culture, right, for us to take lessons from. And it was the best, and Allah knows we don't know. We think our culture is the best or whatever, lah, right? Or our era, it is not possible because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sure will give our Prophet the best culture and the best land and the best time to live in. So if there were any other zaman, right, if there was if any of the eras was the best era to live in, no doubt it was the Prophet's era, right? Because Allah chose that era, right, for His Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to manifest, and we cannot overlook it. And Allah chose the Arabs to be the people from whom He came from, and Allah chose the depths of the desert for him to live and to walk, right? And to walk the space of this earth. And Allah could choose anywhere in the world, literally, any culture, right? And Allah can cause for his religion to spread because Allah's in control, right? But Allah chose that, which means for sure it is the best, right? For sure it is the best. Right? And of course, Allah knows that as time goes by, right? Muslims, as Allah has commanded Muslims to do, Muslims will ponder over the Quran. And when you ponder over the Quran, you pull out principles, right, that is embedded in the Quran. Right. So yes, it is speaking about the Arab culture. Yes, we understand that. Right. But can't you, with all that intellectual Allah has given you, right, pull out the principles? Right? Is it so hard, right, to derive the principles here? Right? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, speaks about furnishings lined with rich brocade, it was something the Arabs delighted in. Right? Because see, they are Bedouins. And because they are Bedouins, a lot of them are travelers. Right? They are hunter-gatherers, people are nomads. And so nomads, they don't have the luxury of bedding, right? Nor the luxury of carpets because they're nomads. So for them, they just have a cloth, basically leather skin lah, to be their tent. And they move from land to land, gaining their rizq. That is what they understand, right? I'm not talking about the city people. The city people in Mecca also different thing, right? Because they're in Mecca, right? The rich get the carpets, right? The rich get the bedding, right? So the poor, right, they sleep on sand. And it's described that Rasul's house, and in fact, when Fatima Zahra got married, right, and they were preparing the house of the bride and the groom, it was described that the flooring, right, in our time, that flooring is what like our flooring, we like looking at marble, looking at parquet, looking at whatever. So Fatima Zahra, a flooring was soft sand. They will go out to the deserts and collect the softest sand, and they'll bring back and they'll just line the rough sand with soft sand, and that's the flooring in her house. That's her flooring. Right? That, you must understand the culture. Right? That's the culture. Right? They live like that. Right? That's how they live. So for them, their doors don't have the doors are just gaps. There's no door. There's no like a hinge and whatsoever. No, right? It's just a gap in the wall. Right? At most they put a curtain, right, to cover. That's all. Right? So like we take a lot of this for granted, mashallah. And in fact, if not just the Arab culture, but if you go into medieval England, right, the way we live right now, the kings of those times did not live that way. Right? The way we eat and the way we sleep and the way we live in our modern age, the kings of medieval England did not live like that. Like they had much less than us. Right? So we are like in the modern age, lah. And so we're here, lah. Mashallah. This is what Allah has given us, lah. Right? So that's why you see in the Quran a lot of description first and foremost about bedding, because the Arabs are amazed by bedding. You have description about carpets. They are amazed by the carpets. Right? So to pull out the principle, okay, in our zaman, what are we amazed by? Right? Because if you say carpet to like a child, carpet, okay lah. And they find carpet everywhere, right? Because they're so used to carpets. Right? So you're like, I don't know, bouncy castle. You don't know what to say to them, right? You can give a castle in Jannah. Castle. What's in the castle? Is it bouncy? Yeah, can be bouncy. You want a bouncy castle, boleh lah. Right? So I mean, subhanallah. Right? So that is the thing, and you find a lot of description about drinks, right? Because there are people who don't even have water. Right? So to have the cool drink is Jannah to them. And for us, you open the fridge, let's say, mashallah, you go to any shop, you open up the array of drinks in our zaman. And the questions there in our zaman, what's going on in our job in our zaman, right? And also, one thing that we can relate to with the Arabs at the time is companionship. And there always is always a mention of companionship, right? In Jannah, because one of the greatest delights of Jannah, right? The companions in Jannah. And as mentioned, you could go to the most beautiful place, but if you are alone, right? Maybe initially you happy lah, yeah, all alone the boys me. You might be happy initially lah, initially. But then after a while, you will the human being has that desire, the desire to have somebody right around him, and it's just natural lah. Right? So even like in the day I was at my house, my condo, I went downstairs to go and book the one of the function rooms lah, and then the lady was there. And then when I was there to book, she was like, what you want to book? And like Chinese lady lah. And then after I just book, and then she began to engage me in conversation. So I talk to her. Then she was like, nowadays everybody pay now, pay now, pay now. Nobody comes here anymore. No one comes to the office anymore because the whole of the residents always pay now. I don't want anything, just pay now. Right. So bank transfer, whatever. It's convenient lah. Right. But the people in the office, she's alone. She said there's nobody with her. So kind of like boring. I don't know. It was nobody with her. So anyone who comes in, conversation. She was talking kinds of things. She was talking. And I want to go. Right, but I mean, you recognize that that's one thing human beings have. Right, when they meet someone, like, and they're actually in a state of loneliness, on a state of boredom, loneliness, like they begin to seek companionship. Right, and Jannah speaks about that in a lot. Right, so Allah speaks about it a lot in Jannah, about Jannah. Right, so mashallah. So last week we were here, right, and we went through this. I'm not sure we went through it, right, but so when we say istabraqa muttaki'ina ala furushin bata'inuha min istabraq. Okay, all of these descriptions, right? They are of the highest Jannah. These descriptions are the highest Jannah. Because coming up in the surah are descriptions of a lower Jannah. MashaAllah. They're both Jannahs. Like, okay, I get to Jannah, happy already lah. Wherever lah Allah put me. Right? But of course, in Jannah, you'll be like, I wish I go higher. You might think right now, masukkan Jannah, as long as you came to Jannah, I'm happy. No, no, no. If you get to Jannah, you're like, those people having a good time up there. You was having a good time, right? You're like, but they are having a better time. Yeah, mashallah. And in Jannah, it is said that those on higher levels can visit those on lower levels, but not the other way around. You're gonna have a free pass to the VIP, but the VIP can come out, right? Or the VIP can come on to the other levels of Jannah if they want to lah. If they want to meet their friends or their family who's like in the other levels. Uh, got intercession, got intercession. Intercession is an upgrade. It's not a visit, it's an upgrade. If someone wants to intercede for you, lah, like because there are several types of intercession. One type is freedom from the hellfire. The first type is to hasten the day of judgment. The first type of intercession of Rasulullah is to hasten the day of judgment. Otherwise, it would take 70,000 years and even more than that. So he will intercede with Allah subhanahu to quicken it, to quicken the day of judgment. And then second type of intercession is to pull people out of the hellfire. So several people can do, not just the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Several people are given the permission from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to save people who are headed towards the hellfire. One of them would be someone who memorized Quran. They have like 10 tickets lah to give out. Right? So anyone around them that they know, right, who's headed towards the hellfire, they can call them out. That's an intercession as well, of them lah. Of course, the marcher is able to intercede for 70 people. It's 70, you have to aim to be a martyr. Or aim to see who is going to be a martyr. Whether target that person. You remember to intercede for me. Right? First Quran lah, those who have a Quran. You can like go to Darul Tahfiz or begin to sponsor Tahfiz schools. So like in case they will intercede for those who sponsor them. Right, mashallah. And companions that who love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are able to intercede. And there's a list of those people who are able to intercede from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he has said. And then the third type of intercession is intercession between the levels of Jannah. Right? So within Jannah itself, right, you can intercede to upgrade someone. So someone in a higher level can appeal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to upgrade the one on a lower level. Right? So this one usually is those who are companions, right, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, companions fillah. Right, the companions by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can intercede. Right, for the companions, children can intercede with their parents, right, and parents for their children. Right, so that Allah will put the family together. Right, so these are all possible intercessions. So it's not like a visit, right, but it's an upgrade lah. And of course, inshallah, we maintain a very good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, that He will not split up our family and put our family together. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all Jannah, inshallah. Right, so these are all the descriptions of the first Jannah, the highest one, right, Firdaus. Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, right, believers will recline on furnishings lined with rich brocade. So here he says line, right, the translation says line, but the Arabic says bata'inuha. Bata'inuha means it is filled, right, it is filled with rich brocade. Brocade is a type of silk that is the best type. Right, brocade is a type of silk that is the best type. Right, so and it is interesting, mashallah. The Arabs knew about silk, right, because of the silk route. Right, so and in the Quran, Allah speaks a lot about silk, and that's where the law of silk came down. Also, haram on men, right, to wear silk. Right, so there was one, I don't know who it was, somebody was commenting on the hadith where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, seek knowledge even if it's to China. Right, seek knowledge from China. Right? And the person was saying it's a false hadith. And then this lecturer was saying that, and how can the Prophet also say seek knowledge to China when he had no clue China existed? So how can he have no clue China existed when there's silk in Mecca? Mecca got silk. Of course they know China exists. Where else does it come from? Correct. I mean, the proof is right there. They had silk in Mecca. And they went up to Syria. Syria was connected to the silk route. right? Halas, they know about China, right? They were aware of China. And that is why you find some Sahaba in China, because they took the hadith literally and they actually went on to China, right, to spread Islam, right, in China. The Muslims are very well aware of China. I mean, the Arabs, right? Some they were very well aware of China. So there was one lecturer, like, he used his so-called, I don't know, logic, whatever it was, right, to say that this hadith was false because the Prophet didn't know about China at the time. Like, how can he not know about China when he has silk, right? And they actually go up to Syria, and Syria is that close to China. It's so close to China. When I was in Syria, I met so many Chinese Muslims studying there because to them it's a land route. It's very easy to get to Syria from China. You know, I shall back then. Now I don't know the war and everything. Right? But it's not far. Right? For them to get the Silk Route connects them all. So mashallah, I even saw a video once on all these talks now about this lady, right, who was speaking about covering the aurat, right? Of course, all nonsense lah, complete nonsense at all, right? But she was speaking about apa, how could it be, right, that the women, right, were told to cover their aurat in this way, right, when their clothing was very primitive, right? And she said things like, and they wouldn't have been able, how could they have to, like for example, wear socks and so on. How did at that time there was no such thing as socks, right? There was a hoof, by the way. Right? I mean, you know what the law of hoof, right? Law of hoof is the leather boots. If they can make leather boots, can't they make socks? You think what they all apa Tarzan kami all cavemen or what? Like what zaman do you think this is? They were developed in their clothing. They knew how to make clothing. They had gloves. They knew how to make gloves. They were riding horses. So of course they could make socks. But it's kind of about logical thinking. Oh, they can't make pants. So hard to make pants. And she was making this kind of like comments, how can they make pants? How can they make, you think these people all absolutely no knowledge of it? Right. So then I pushed out talks and like, you just feel like they just making a fool out of themselves. Right? It's not hard. Right, mashallah. Anyway, mashallah, about brocade, which is the silk. It's a very, very high, um, it is a very, what do you say, high, is the best silk. The highest quality of silk is brocade. And Allah described the furnishings are filled with brocade. The inner parts are told to us as silk and brocade, but we're not informed of the outer parts because it's beyond the human being. So if Allah says, because usually you put what is lesser in its lesser in its softness, right, on the inside, then on the outside you do something that is more soft, correct? So because you touch the outside, right? So if the inside is brocade, which the Arabs would never do because brocade is so expensive, right? So if the stuffing is brocade, what is the outside? Mashallah, that's what Allah's pointing at, inshallah. The fruit of both gardens will hang within reach. Right? Of course, the fruits will come to you whenever you think of them. You think of the fruits and it will come to you. Right? And how great and how fine is the best treatment for any guest, and Allah is the best host. The fruit, if you want, the moment you think about it, it comes immediately. It moves for you in whatever way you want to eat. Just by thinking, the fruit moves for you. And interesting, and that's so lazy. And you don't have to move your own fruit. You just move, just eat it, and the fruit moves for you. Everything's controlled by your thoughts. If you want any fruit or drink, it will come immediately to you, and the moment you're finished, it will grow back, and the fruit will grow back, and that fruit will be sweeter than the previous one. Inshallah. Then Allah says, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which are the favors of your Lord will you both deny. Allah has prepared all of this for those who want to strive. So those who want to strive the best you can. How great the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what else do you desire? Is there anything in this world that is worth giving up all that? MashaAllah. Is there anything? But today I told the kids about the story of Heracles. As a Heracles, in the Zaman of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he received the letter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam calling him to Islam, right? And he knew Rasulullah was the last prophet. Because he had asked Abu Sufyan some questions, and he confirmed that the Rasul was indeed the last prophet, as foretold in the books of Nabi Isa and Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And to the point, Heraclius said to Abu Sufyan that if what you are telling me is true, then this very land under my feet will go to the prophets. That means he will conquer up from here in Sham, right? It was all the way in Syria, right? So, but this Heraclius never ended, right? Because he feared his people. He feared the people. He feared his kingship as well. He feared for his kingship, right? So he desired to be king. He desired the favor of the people. So he knew that if he entered into Islam, right, he would be killed or dethroned, right? He'll be thrown off, he'll be thrown off, and his kingship will be taken away. Right? So I asked the kids, like, this is it, Ola. I asked them, right, is Hercules smart? And they said, no, he's not smart. And not smart. Right? Because to enter Islam, you get a palace forever. And you can be your own king forever. Right? And you can delight in whatsoever. Right? But you're scared of people, not scared of Allah. That was the answer. Like, Heracles was so smart. Right? He's not smart. Right? So he gave up Jannah, and he gave up eternity in bliss. He knew it was, he had a desire to be a Muslim. The Heracles actually desired. He had a desire to be Muslim. In fact, he perfumed the letter of Rasulullah and placed it high on his ship. Like he honored the letter of Rasulullah. So he had like he knew it was true, and he was that close to entering into Islam. But his fear of his people and his greediness, right, to be the king stopped him. Right. So he treated all of Jannah, right, just for some years of being king on this earth. It's not worth. Is there anything in the world that is worth giving up all that Allah has promised? Right? Is it subhanAllah? What do you want to do in this world that you don't want Jannah? And especially in our Zaman when people say, oh, I follow my lust, I follow my desires, I follow my inclinations. It's all about the all this talk. You want to do all that and give up Jannah? All this that you're talking about in this dunya is only for a while. So even if, which I don't believe now, but even if what they say is all true about their whatever their sexuality whatsoever, right? Even if, can we be patient and be patient on that, right? And just hold the self, right? As Allah says, فَأَمَّا فأما من خاف رب فأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. Right, so it's also in Surah Nazi'at, Allah says, as for the one who fears standing, it's in Surah Rahman as well, the standing in front of his Lord. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى, and he stops, probably with tahan pun mesti buat and nahan nafsa anil hawa, he stops his nafs from the desires of the nafs. Right. So if anyone speaks to you about their inclination, their desire, that what and they make it as a reason why they have to engage in the acts they engage in, I give that ayah. Right. So yes, you have all these desires. Okay, you know what? We recognize it. Right. But don't you forget, وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. Right? And you hold yourself because you know Allah does not love it. You know Allah hates it. Right? What do you get? Jannah. Is it worth it? It's worth it. Right? If you say, but what if I live my life alone and never find love? It's fine. It's okay. Right? Live your life. And what if and sorry for the word, what if I never get married? What if I never have children? What if I never have isn't that whatsoever? It's okay. Right? Allah give everyone their portion. That's not important. And what is important is your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your obedience to Him. Whatever comes, whatever it is whatever it is. You and your Lord. Right? You and your Lord. Whatever comes your way, is another test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The husband test, children test, in-laws test, everything all test. No husband test, no children test, no in-laws test. The whole thing is all tests, one by one tests. Right? So don't unless we desire. Right? But if Allah has decreed, then the rida is what we seek, to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what think lah, right? Think what do we are we addicted to in this world? Or what we can't stop ourselves from in this world. Like, can we give that up, right, for something great in Jannah? Like, give that up. Just something small. Give that for something great in Jannah. Like the story of Abu Dahdah. Abu Dahdah, the story about Abu Dahdah. It's a very unique name. Yeah, Abu Dahdah, he's one of the companions in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a very beautiful story about him, right? Whereby in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a conflict, right? So basically, there was an orphan boy, right? And he lived next to this wealthy, person, this wealthy like farmer, right? So this orphan boy, right, he has like some trees in his garden, and it's a small house, or some trees in the garden, right? And he realized that people were coming into his garden and taking his fruits, right? So people were stealing, right? So he decided to build a wall around his garden, right? But as he was building the wall, right, he found a small palm tree, a small palm tree that was not fruiting, it was not growing, it was just very short and stumped palm tree in the way of him building his wall. And this palm tree belongs to his neighbor. So he goes over to his neighbor's house and he asks his neighbor, could I remove it? Palm tree, right? That's not fruiting, it's not a useful palm tree, because it's in the way of me making my wall around my house. The neighbor refused. The neighbor said, "It is my palm tree. I don't want to cut it down." And then the orphan said, "But it's harming me, right? Because if I can't build my wall, people will steal my fruits, and I'm not rich and I'm poor, right? So I need to build my wall. Your palm tree's in the way, right?" And he said, "You have so many palm trees. Come on, right? One will not hurt you." Right, and this neighbor, he was kind of like, on a like stubbornness lah about him, like tak nak kalah, that kind of thing, tak nak kalah, right? So he doesn't want to lose, right? So he insisted, "No, no, 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 I love that palm tree. The palm tree is dear to me," or what, and he said that. So the orphan says, "I will complain about you to Rasulullah. I'm going to tell Rasulullah about you." Okay, because he can't do anything. It's not his palm tree, right? So he goes to Rasulullah. The name follows. Both them, they go. They're both Muslim, eh? Muslim. Right? They go and say, "They're both Muslim. Why the other guy so mean?" just cut the tree lah, your neighbor. Right? Again, it's his palm tree. Like, I can do whatever he wants with the palm tree. So they go up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then they present their case. So Rasul turns to the neighbor and he says, "Would you cut down your palm tree, right, for your for his orphan to build his wall?" And the neighbor said, "Ya Rasulullah, is it a command or just a suggestion?" Then Rasul did a suggestion, not a command. Then he said, "Mm-mm, I don't want to." In front of Rasulullah, he was like, "Wow, this guy one guy now, mashallah." Right. So then Rasul said, "Okay, would you cut down that small palm tree for a palm tree in Jannah?" Mm, right. So we're going to replace that palm tree. Because Rasul is trying to intercede. Right? He does that, he intercedes. Right? And he does this in a way that is very beautiful. Right? Because he knows this tree belongs to that guy. So he can't force the guy. Right? He will not force the guy. Right? Because it's not his tree. It's not Rasul's tree. Right? It's a guy's tree. Right? So he says, "Would you give this palm tree, right, in exchange for a palm tree in Jannah?" And this guy, in his stubbornness, said no. I'm like, what? And the Sahaba were there, and the Masjid, they were all like, what? Is he serious? Like, is he like, what's wrong with this guy? And but he's, I think, in a state of just cannot lose. Because he already like, denied the neighbor of cutting the tree. It's like in his ego, whatever it was, like, he just couldn't give in, right, to this neighbor, this small orphan, kesian lah orphan boy. So one of the Sahaba who was there in the masjid, Abu Dahdah, Abu Dahda heard this offer by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Abu Dahda said, Ya Rasulullah, if anyone gave that tree, over, would they get a tree in Jannah? And Rasulullah said, yes, if anyone give a tree over, anyone who owns a tree, I give a tree over, they will get a tree in Jannah. So Abu Dahda turns to this guy, the owner of the tree, and he says, like, oh person, do you know who I am? And he says, yes, you are Abu Dahda. Everybody knows you. You own the greatest orchard of date palm trees in Medina, the best dates from that orchard. And Abu Dahda said, yes, you know all about my orchard, right? He says, yes, there are hundreds of trees there, and they produce the best dates in Medina. So Abu Dahda said, I will give you all of my orchard if you give me that one palm tree. Abu Dahda understood. he has an understanding. So Abu Dahda said, I will give you all of the whole thing if you give me that one lousy palm tree. I, and then the man said, are you kidding me? Right, your orchard, everyone desires it. It's the best days in Medina, and it's huge. Right? His orchard was huge, hundreds of the palm trees. Right, Abu Dawud said, "I'm not joking. I am not joking." Right, so the man said, "So, right, so that one lousy palm tree is yours. Go do whatever you want with it." Right, and then Abu Dahda said, "And my orchard is yours. Take it." Right? So the man got the orchard of Abu Dahda, right? And then Abu Dahda got that one lousy palm tree, right? He turns to the orphan and he says, "Oh, orphan, this palm tree is yours now. Do whatever you want with it." Right? So then Abu Dahda turns to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So now the orphan can go and cut his palm tree, lah, right? And then now he turns to Rasulullah, "Ya Rasulullah, did I earn one palm tree in Jannah?" Right? This was super translation. Right? This is fast. Okay, dah. Right? Did I earn one palm tree in Jannah? And then Rasul said, no, I promise one palm tree for one palm tree. You give an orchard. So for you, an orchard in Jannah. An orchard of the, mashallah. Abu Dahda. And then and Rasul made a rhyme na, kam min tamr rahra li Abi Dahda. Which means that, how many date palms are swinging in Jannah for Abu Dahda. Rahrah means to swing. So how many, so he made a rhyme of his name, Abu Dahda. MashaAllah. So it's like what will you give? Abu Dahda was willing to give an entire orchard for one tree in Jannah. Just one tree in Jannah, yes, but give me a whole orchard. Take. And no, I don't want it. No, mashallah, give me the one trip, mashallah. So Rasulullah said, the whole one orchard for you in Jannah. If you have property in Jannah, you must go to Jannah because Allah will not oppress. Because your property. So you remember your property in Jannah, it's like you secure a place in Jannah. Mashallah. Because Allah will not take away your property from you. It's your property. Mashallah. Mashallah. So even when Rasul went for Isra and Mi'raj, and he saw a huge palace, and he asked, whose palace is this? And he said, this palace belongs to Umar bin Khattab. Sayyidina Umar's palace in Jannah. So when he came back from Isra and Mi'raj, and he said, Ya Umar, I saw your palace in Jannah. And then Sayyidina Umar said, did you enter it, Ya Rasulullah? And then Rasul said, no. I remembered how much ghira you had. Ghira is like a possessiveness. And Umar has a possessiveness. Like, it's my stuff, that kind of thing. So I didn't enter your palace before you. I said, Ya Rasulullah, you are Rasulullah. If you entered, I would have been okay with it. You entered before me. She says, no, I didn't enter because I remembered you want to go in first. Yes, there's a ghira about him. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So is there anything that you would give up? Right? What will you give up? Right? To get all that. So if you wait in this way, what in this world is worth Jannah? Subhanallah, is worth giving up Jannah. Whether it's a job, whether it's a lifestyle, whether it's a habit, whether it's an addiction, can't we give it up? Right? So no self known. And Allah says in Surah Sajda. In Surah Sajda, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no self knows what is hidden from them from the delights of the eye. right? What Allah has kept for them, right? Of the delights, and obey Allah in all matters, and try your best to exceed what is minimal. That means what is wajib, go beyond the wajib. Try your best, go beyond the wajib. No blessings do we deny. To you is all praise and thanks. Right? So it's a answer. Whenever Allah says, and which blessings of the Lord do we deny? You say, we don't deny any blessings, Ya Allah. And to you is all praise and thanks. You say that. And we don't deny any blessings, Ya Allah. To you is all praise and thanks. Okay. So here, right, next one Allah says, فيهن قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان. Right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the woman in Jannah will be more than the men. More women in Jannah. Yes, more women in Jahannam as well, because a lot of women. It's funny. And so when Rasul said he saw many women in Jahannam, there are also many women in Jannah. Both. Right? Because women will outnumber men. Right? And in fact, towards the end of times, the ratio of women to men is 10 is to 1. 10 is to 1 towards the end of time. We are coming there. We are coming there. Our ratio of women to men, right? 10 is to 1. Okay, so that all the men will be sought after for marriage. And so that's why it is okay if women are unmarried. It's okay. Right, then it's the one. Either you are married or you might second wife or third wife. Can I mean they're only one out of every mashallah. So it's okay. So we have to start, begin the discourse that it's okay. Right, that women to be independent by themselves, to find their own happiness, right? To find their own contentment as a Muslim, right? Find their own peace and tranquility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Find it. And even for those who are married, right? Don't try and seek your happiness in another person. Because people go, they come and they go, they die. Right? People can never always be there for you. It's not possible. They're human. Like they're human, they can try their best, but it's not 24/7. The only one 24/7 for you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So married or unmarried, if you don't learn to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have failed. Regardless. Right? Subhanallah. And how many women, in their marriage, it became a curse for them. Because of their inability, right, to conduct their marriage in a good way. Right? How many men also? Right? So everything's a test. Everything's a test. And Allah gives His portion to whomsoever He wants. Right? Everybody's given their portion. Right? So we need to teach people, right, to be content. To be content. If it comes your way, it comes your way. It doesn't come your way, whatever Allah has decreed for me, I am pleased. Right? Understand that. Whatever Allah has decreed for me, I am pleased. Right? Whatever it may be. MashaAllah. Right? So, and that is that is part of ibadah. That is part of ibadah, to be happy wherever you are at. MashaAllah. Right? So women in Jannah be more than men, because generally there'll be more women that would exist on this earth more than men. Like a woman is allowed to choose which husband she wants to be in Jannah. That is from the tafsir, right? To choose. So not necessarily the last husband, right? But any husband, right? If they want to be in Jannah, right? Because technically, like you see, some of the wives in the Sahaba, right? Like the one who married Sayyidina Abu Bakr, for example. Sayyidina Abu Bakr passed away. She went on to marry other Sahaba, right? I'm sure she wanted to choose Sayyidina Abu Bakr in Jannah. I mean, she doesn't want to choose all the other guys, right? I mean, she wants the first one, right? So you can choose whoever you want to be in Jannah. And in fact, Jannah is beyond space and time. It could be that she has the companionship, of all of those people that she loved, right? And in fact, being in Jannah, we don't even know, companionship in Jannah. What exactly is companionship? Right, in Jannah. Because the delight of Jannah is to gaze upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the delight of Jannah. Right? But Allah mentions about companionship for us to understand. Right? To understand. So they are pure companions with no blemish in their character, nor in their physicality. Right? No blemish, mashallah, Jannah. Their eyes do not look at anything except their own spouses. The believing women are, is it, a billion times more beautiful than the Hurul Ain. The damsels of paradise. The damsels of paradise will be surrounding the beautiful woman of the believing woman of Jannah and admiring her. Right? The damsels, they were just created in Jannah. Right? And they admire the believing woman who strove in this world to get to Jannah. So the damsels are like they're like your fangirls, like they're like going around you and they're like and they're exalting you and they're admiring you and they're amazed by you. You went through dunya, like you went through dunya, and you passed. Like wow, and so they did all they're celebrating you lah. Basically, they have like a whole party going on, all celebrating you, all the damsels in Jannah. Right? So and they celebrate the believing woman in Jannah. So don't think like about all these damsels of paradise running around. It's not a competition, right? They are celebrating you. Right? You are the believing woman of Jannah. Right? A woman or man who does this in the world, right? Meaning that they're only focused on their own spouse. Right? When they're only focused on their own spouse in this world, right? In Jannah, they get the spouses of Jannah. Right? And that is something that is a big problem in our time with regards to infidelity now. Right? So people are cheating. And it's a very big thing like in our society. And sometimes you don't even realize it how big it is. Like, only when you go and you listen to people and listen to them anonymously, right? They will talk about it. Like infidelity is something that is unfortunately rife. Yeah, unfortunately rife, right? Especially with the social media. Right? People seek out people and they could not care less if they are married, could not care less. And that was to the dismay of the Prophet ﷺ on Isra and Mi'raj when he saw a group of people, men and women, right? They were offered good food, then they were offered rotten, very disgusting food, and they were gorging themselves on the rotten. And the Rasul said, "Oh Jibril, who are these people?" And Jibril said, "These are the people of your ummah, meaning the Muslims. They have what is halal at home, their spouses, and they go out for what is haram. When they have good food, but they go for the rotten. Right? So it made your hair stand up. SubhanAllah. Like, it's so much in our society that we need to. But Alhamdulillah, inshallah, as Muslims is less. Hopefully, there's a hope that amongst Muslims is less. Amongst non-Muslims, it is alarming. If you look at the stats in America, right, they don't even go by how many people has ever cheated on their spouse. They go by how many times they have cheated. Right? How many people have cheated? If they would try and get a poll of how many have never cheated, it's almost zero. And it's so rare to find anyone in the society who has not cheated on their spouse. And for them, it's number of times cheated. I really like my heart. And so whenever I read all these articles, I'm like, so happy I'm Muslim. Alhamdulillah. At least like I know, and Alhamdulillah, inshallah, my husband is a righteous person. And you feel like, okay, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, they're righteous people. I think my heart cannot handle this kind of thing, handle. Inshallah. So I don't even know how the societies they handle it. And then like on hawla wala quwwata illa billah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us. Allah promises us that those who keep chaste, right? They keep their chastity, right? They keep their modesty, right? They keep to their spouses and they don't look anywhere else. Right? Their eyes don't stray right anywhere else. Right? That is then for them they get their spouses of Jannah. Right? Inshallah for those. Right, so it's a form of highness and elevation, right? To be with the people of modest case, right? Whom no human jinn or human nor jinn has ever touched before. Means they are pure, they are pure. Right. So the maidens here, they refer to the whole ain. Right. So and because again, right, we need to understand the delights that the Arabs understood. Right. So they understood the delights of the woman. So when they speak about virgins, it was to them, it was a delight for them. Something one that no one has ever touched before. It was a delight for them. Until today, also in our society, even the same thing. Right, to men, right, an untouched woman is a delight for them. Right, so whatever is for the woman that we like in, I don't know what we like in. So and we all I think companionship. Let's talk about each other. I think women enjoy women companionship. That's what it is. Inshallah. Um, right, so as opposed to what Shaitan says in calling people to betray using the eyes, right? But it first starts with the glance at the look, right? And now the look can happen to their satisfaction online, right? To their satisfaction. A man can feast his gaze, on another woman like continuously and scroll and scroll and scroll and just stare at her. And so it's just it's just a very very scary world out there. Mashallah. There was once my mother told me that I don't know what she saw or something, but there was this I don't know where she heard it also. But basically, this story she told me a long time ago, right, about this woman, right, who actually complained, right, to I think it was an article she read, and who complained to the authorities, right, because she was on the beach, right, she was just wearing her bikini or whatever on the beach, right, and a man came, and the man basically just circled her, didn't touch her, didn't do anything, but just walked around her. Oh, that's not right. Yes, I was scared. Right. And then he sat there, he just stare. She exposed her body. So he just sit there and just like look at the view. Lah. He just some strange guy. She got so uncomfortable. Why in the world? Right. She said, and then when the authorities came, she said, I'm not doing anything. Just sitting here and staring. I'm not doing anything. It's a beach, man. Just look around. Right. So you say, Alhamdulillah for Islam. It's really like so many times when you go through all this like stuff out there, so happy you're a Muslim, right? Because Islam teaches us cover, it teaches us modesty, it makes us, it gives us limits, and all of this as we grow older, we realize our protection. It's all our protection because there are wolves out there. And Islam knows about this. Allah knows about this. It's protection. Sharia is protection. Full stop. It's protection. If we can change our mindset, it's not restriction. It's protection. Right. So when like I said, when a parent tells a child come home by Maghrib, do you call it being strict or you call it being protective? Change the words. It's not about strict, it's about protective. And so when the child says, my mother's so strict, mom must come home. They said, no, she's protective. She's protecting you. That's why by Margaret must come home. Right? So change the words, not strict, not restrictive, not controlling, right? But protective. So even to the husband, I said, people will say, my husband's so controlling, he's so cannot. It's protective. They're being protective. This morning, in the morning, I had to go to Sembawang before, right after subuh, around 5:30, I had to go to Sembawang for some project lah. Apa, I was going to take a grab there. Straight away, my husband followed me in the grab. So, and then he just hung around while I did my project, and then he brought me back in the grab. That's quite protective, right? Follow, right? Because you're going to some random park, some small park, random beach. Like, what? And it is true lah. When we reached there, it was still quite dark, and there were random individual men. And if I had gone by myself, I'd be so freaked out, right? Because you don't know who these people. Right. So I mean that is why he follows you around. He's like because he's being protective. Right, mashallah. So this we need to change our mindset on a lot of things. Yeah, they should. They don't. We won't say that you cause it, but we say that you make yourself vulnerable to it. Not that you cause it, but you make yourself vulnerable. So it's like if you walk into a lion's den, right? So that you are meat. To the lion, you are meat. So even if you don't mean to be food for the lion, it's gonna eat you, right? So to the man, literally you are meat. You are woman. That's all they see. right? So they're not supposed to see it that way, but again, the wolves are out there, right? So for the clever one, you don't run into a pack of wolves, do you? You won't even walk through a forest that you know there are wolves in there. You won't do that, right? And you can't say it's a wolf's fault, right? And of course, these men they should have some morality, but they don't. And the thing about it is, a argument can. You just say lah, okay lah, if you believe that we're right, nobody should steal. Then leave like your key in your car. Kan, nobody should steal. Then why should look into my car also? Leave like your key there, see what happens. Kan, you bring your key, take your key with you. Why? Because there are thieves out there. So as much as they should know their keys, they don't. There are monsters everywhere. And that's why Islam knows that there are evil people all over the world. So you have something precious. The one who has something precious, you guard over your precious thing. You guard over what is precious, right? And that's how fathers understand, right? The fathers, their daughters are precious. So do you think a father, right, will allow his daughter to just go around with men here and there? No, right? Right. So will the father say to the man, "Don't touch my daughter. I let her go out with you alone at night, but you don't touch her." You think father will do that? No, right? Father will be like, see my daughter," and he will keep his daughter in at home. That's how he protects his precious thing. His daughter is precious to him. Not trying to educate the man, right? But he goes by what I know is that I can protect what is precious to me. Right. So this is what, think about it, that people want to argue. But I don't know why they're arguing because it makes no sense. And these people still go around violating. Right. So as much as you want them to know their gays, they want full stop. Right. So even like the time that I think last year that happened, right, some of the men they took pictures of I think Astiza, right, and they Photoshop or whatsoever done what they were doing now with it, I have no idea. Right. Of course what they did was horrid. Right? And what they did was, foul and whatsoever, but they are dead. You get it? They are horrid and they are foul. They are, right? And you can't even catch them, you don't know who they are. Right. So what do you do? And what do you do? Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Try your best to not be in the limelight so much. That's how you protect. Because they're not supposed to do that, but they do. I saw an app that day that could erase clothes. An app that could erase. Now they have what's called apps. You can literally, erase the clothes of a person on the app. It's disgusting, then. And they make all these things. Like, but if you think about it, the human body is not unique. Only the face is unique. Only our face is unique. So literally, you could put anyone's face on any naked body, and it fits. This mesh skin. Yeah, it works. It works. It fits. It's not the it's not the real picture, but then the image is there, and you've ruined someone's reputation by doing that. So it's like, so it's an evil world out there, lah. It's an evil world out there, right? So just be very careful, right? Like for me, I don't like all this shayateen out. They are shayateen, right? But what can you do? The shayateen. Stop the shayateen. Shayateen jinn go to jail in Ramadan. Shayateen insan, they're running around. They're doing it in Ramadan some. Right? They're running around in Ramadan. Shayateen insan, they're the worst. Shayateen jinn, you can say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." They run away. Shayateen insan, you go, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." They're still there. What to do with them? Right, mashallah. But that's the thing. Be smart. Right? Protect what is. Don't give them bait. Basically, you don't want to be. I know you don't want to be bait, but they will see you as bait. So don't give them. Don't expose yourself. Right? Don't be vulnerable. Right? Because there are monsters, right, running around this world. So be careful about it. All right. So shaitan lah. Shaitan according to what people used to betray is in their eyes, how they used to keep themselves chaste. That's how they would get the maidens of Jannah. And because they kept themselves chaste. Like the story of the young man in time of Rasulullah, in time of Sayyidina Umar, radiallahu anhu, right, who the young man was going to follow the woman into her house and then he fainted. And when he remembered the verse, and so his chastity overtook him, and he fainted, and eventually he died. And he said, Sayyidina Umar, and what is the reward of the one who fears his Lord? And Sayyidina Umar went to the grave and said, Jannatan, Jannatan, like two Jannahs. And the voice came from the grave, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, yes, I have found it, two Jannahs, two Jannahs. Those who were chasing this world. Right? And so, and it's all Habib's talk. He was talking about how women now argue about wanting to be like men lah, this lah, that lah, and everything lah. The Sharia is so protective over us women. And we need to be grateful. The Sharia puts so many, like armor around us. Right? Because the Sharia knows of the vicious men out there. Sharia knows. And the Sharia and Allah subhanahu knows that woman, one time you are violated, it's trauma for you. Right? Yes, they can if they catch the man. If they catch him, what do they do to him? Most of it is slap on the wrist. They hardly do anything to this man. Right? So it's definitely not capital punishment. Right? A man could be like raping, a girl for years. In America, there are disgusting stories of these kind of things. Right? They rape for how many years? Get caught. Then the punishment is what? And he ruined this young woman. And she's ruined for life. And the trauma is immense on her. Because inshallah, on the day of judgment, if they are Muslim, right, inshallah, there'll be recompense. Right? But this is what Islam tells us. Woman, one time kena, it's a scar. Right? So Allah is like, put layers of armor around you. Right? And protect yourselves, women. Don't let them come near you. Inshallah. Right? So, but women argue as if they don't know the statistics of number of women who are abused in society all over the world. It's all over the world, in modern societies, in other societies. And you go out to the most developed city, you go see the statistics, right, of how many percent of women are abused. More than 90%. Is that scary, right? And these feminists want to argue what? Obviously we are different. Right? For men, you try and touch them, they happy probably. I don't know. Right? So you can't even do it back. And they touch you, you don't touch them because we're different. Women are different. And for us, they even touch our thigh already, we get upset. Right? This is a thigh, And then we like when you touch our hand for no reason, also we like, like we feel violated. As a woman, our whole body, so it's like the Sharia knows, our whole body is to be sanctified, right? It is precious. They said, inshallah, may said Habib one was saying that women don't listen to these liars out there. Don't listen to these liars. The one who loves you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who loves you is the Prophet. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These and whatever comes from Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is for your benefit. So don't resist. It is for your protection. And so how unfortunate those women who believe the liars out there, pushing them to show themselves, expose themselves to the wolves. Because they are the wolves. Right? And they're pushing women into this. And one thing that I heard before that really struck me, about this exposing of the self. And especially now, on the screen, the exposing of women on the screen, is that like while there are women exposed, and this was one of the points, one of the mashayikh, and he made this very, very beautiful point. He said that, like on in his time was billboards, exposed women on billboards. Our time is like all on the internet. Like, is that this men, right, their shahawat goes up, right, when they see this exposed woman on the billboards or on the internet, but they can't get to those women because they are, images. So they go and prey on the woman that they can get to, which could be their daughters, their neighbors, nieces, right, sisters. Easy prey. It's like easy prey. Children, easy prey. So you see how the evil is? Right, the evil. Of course, these men should increase their taqwa. They should stop watching that. But they're watching. They should. They don't. Right. So, and this is what it is. So in a society whereby all the women are covered, and the men don't have anything to look at to heighten their shahwat, right? So, and meanwhile, we teach them some Islam and some education, right? So they control themselves. So it's not that we say, that this woman is to be to blame for the foulness going on in the home, right? But right, it could be a trigger. Right? It could be a trigger. Right? So that's why, in a sense, it's a societal effort to protect all women. Of course, when society where it's all exposed, so it can't happen outside already. Right? But in society, by societal efforts, as in Tarim, before the internet came in, the internet destroyed a lot of things in Tarim. But before the internet came into Tarim, right, the men would never see any woman, and they won't even see anything that was like beyond her elbow of his family members. So his family members will only see the up to here of his family members. Like even at home, they will wear a shawl. So a man like will never see the aura of a woman in his life until he got married. This is how protected they are. Mashallah, there was one story how about Mariam, she used to us that there was this and even the baby girls, they would protect the aura of the baby girls from the boys. The boys don't see. So there was once you said there was her family lah. They were cleaning one of the girls, right? And accidentally one of the boys walked in, right? And the boy saw his sister, baby girl lah, right? And he saw her aurat, and he was like, "Eh, how come Hawan was up? How come Hawan spoiled? He's never seen it. First time. He's like, what's up? Hardan. Like, spoil one. That's that innocent, mashallah. Right? But this is a society that has that. But once they open up to the internet, destroy. So you see how the Sharia protects it. Sharia is so beautiful, mashallah. But yeah, alhamdulillah. May Allah give us rahmah in this day of chance. Like we're in a zaman of zaman. So inshallah protect our women. Right? Protect our girls and protect wherever they go, their aurat, protect them. And give them, and I would say give curfew. And don't let them just go out free here and there. That's when they do the nonsense. Like curfew. I have a friend that even when she goes after going to school, right, she ensure she sends them and picks them up. And because she knows a lot of nonsense happens on the buses. A lot of nonsense talk right, within friends. Right. It was on the school bus. Right. So she'll pick them up and send them back. Right. So she will not allow them to go onto the buses with their friends. Because a lot of nonsense, a lot of influence happens there. Right. From here we know that both human and jinn will be in Jannah. Here's the hadith. And it's that because Allah says that no human nor jinn has ever touched them. From this ayat, you know there are human and jinn in Jannah. MashaAllah. The ulama pulled out this point. There's jinn in Jannah as well. They're beautiful jinn, don't worry. No, some hantu ke no. They are beautiful jinn, mashallah. Seek good companionship in fall, they're more beautiful than us, like the like beautiful jinn, inshallah. Right, seek good companionship in this world for good companionship in the if you want good companionship in the hereafter. Right, basically it's a mirror. Right, whatever you do in this world, you will get in the hereafter, inshallah. Okay, Alhamdulillah. We'll stop there for today, inshallah. We have two more lessons. I'll go faster than next time round. I have to finish in two lessons, eh? Actually, very fast. The next week until I apa? We've only until 70 something. I've done all the notes already. So yeah, it's a bit. Actually, okay lah. I go fast lah. Okay, inshallah. Now we all dua. اللهم نور بالقرآن بصري واشرح به صدري وأطلق به لساني واستعمل به بدني وقوم به جناني وأسرع به فهمي بحولك وقوتك فإنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعل لنا حجة يا رب العالمين آمين. الفاتحة. أن الله يجعلنا منافع عنا القدس المسلمين من الهدى ويسر به قول النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الرحيم عليكم مشايخنا والزاد تفضي علينا وإذا حاضرت النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الفاتحة.